talk with Louis.
Last year, I saw
Don't hurt him.
I talked to Stephen yesterday and I said, you know,
Well, it's just
I know
too
you're
bad
busy,
that
but
it's not as, can't
this
be as
stuff's going to
fun.
seed
Yeah.
right now, and if we let it go to seed, the whole
Yeah,
thing's going to be covered with
Canada,
OSHA
Bill.
next year, so.
Oh, I got a bunch of buttons.
Especially, it's hard to play that whole no mow thing
Oh,
at
yeah,
this
yeah.
point, you know, because we're gonna have to mow for a couple of years to
Yeah, no, I
get
know.
other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I gotta check it out, but I think we're gonna have to implement some type of mowing program, at least to keep them from going out to sea.
Well, I would still, you and I have talked about this, I
Nancy,
would still really like,
do you have a list of
especially north of
membership?
Bridge Street. Go in there in the spring when everything's just green.
I'm supposed to, it says here I'm supposed to call the roll
Yes,
call.
each one of those
Don't
alfalfa
bother.
plants at that time.
I call
And,
it
you
present
know, that eliminates.
instead of roll call.
Okay.
I already wrote it down.
Oh, okay, good.
Passed away, so, yeah, I took care of it.
Or if you
Or did you
wanted,
guys see Tom said he wasn't gonna be here?
Yeah, I just saw that now.
Okay, I didn't see that.
one other way of handling that is just have people say their names.
She's doing good. She's doing, yeah, she takes
All
over
right.
the accounts for West Las Vegas.
So missing is our
Stephen and,
Tom.
yeah, and Elizabeth.
And Shannon.
And
Is
Shannon.
Shannon still part of our board?
Oh, I think so.
She's behaves that way to me.
Okay.
You want me to give her a call?
I'm sure she's busy.
Thank God not with floods, huh? Well, other parts of the state, wow.
They actually had a pretty big flood up in Sapeo. I don't know if it got you guys.
I don't think it hit us. I mean, we got a good bit of rain, but I don't think the valley got it. But what day was it? Because I was just out there on Monday and it looked okay.
Yesterday?
Yesterday,
Yeah.
and what, 2 weeks ago too? It blew out a couple of cars.
Oh, yeah, no,
on the highway.
we went from stuff blooming in the bottom of what used to be the creek to chest deep.
Yeah, no, this was up higher in, towards Gaskin and,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it sucks though.
So, yeah.
I can't cut it.
So, yeah, it was cleaning the river
Very
out.
fast though.
I don't know how much, we want to wait for Stephen.
Let's start on time.
Do we have any copies of the agenda? I didn't make.
you could share
Well, I've
my,
got one, but just the one.
We could,
It's gonna show you that.
I quit. I'm going home before I break my neck. You have a copy?
Yeah, we have.
You have that copy?
Yeah.
My question, of course, is which agenda? When I write up the notes, I'm following mine, just to be.
Yeah, I got this, you got this.
Yeah,
Look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I printed it.
Well, I wonder if we're already on the air.
It's the second Tuesday.
Well,
so-
it is being 20 to 4, we might as well start. Could everybody, we'll go around, everybody identify themselves, so that will be the roll call.
Pamela Taylor.
Sean Spencer.
Joe Romero.
Paul Stagner.
John Martinez. AJ Lujan.
All right, well, welcome to all of you. Ms. Libby.
I have it down.
All right. We need to approve the agenda as distributed, and if I've been reading the optic correctly, this agenda cannot be amended today. We can move things around if we want to, but we can't put new things on.
I so move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now I seek approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear any corrections? Hearing none. We
You accept them, yeah.
Accept the agenda by consensus? I mean, the minutes by consensus? Is there any public input? Are there any members of the public here? Yeah. All right. Okay. Moving on to committee members' reports. I don't have anything in particular I need to report. We do have a report from Elizabeth Gardner on conditions along the Riverwalk, and we can talk about that in the Riverwalk Park update section, if that's all right. Gerald, you got anything for members' reports?
No, our update as far as the tree inventory will be covered at that time.
Okay, sounds good. First discussion items, I was kind of hoping Stephen might have been able to make it today. I drove by the plaza. The first item on our discussion agenda is Tree of Heaven update. And we noticed that those, I guess those things are called medians, aren't they?
Yeah.
But whatever they are, those little patches at the bottom of the plaza where the Tree of Heaven is, they've dug up everything but the Tree of Heaven.
I saw them doing that, and I wondered why. Then I read in the paper that it is on contract, the people who are working on, I think, drainage or infrastructure,
Uh-huh.
like water lines or sewer lines under the street.
Really?
So they didn't know to dig it up.
Oh, okay. Well, I noticed that there was a trench around the edge, and I thought, well, at least they're trying to hack the roots.
When I first saw it, I thought the same thing.
Well, I did talk to Stephen,
Okay.
and Stephen did let me know that part of the refurbishing of that island or whatever does include the removal of that Tree of Heaven.
Okay, it would be nice to get it out as soon as we can.
Yeah, that's what he told me, is that's part of the contract, is to have that removed, to be dug out, roots and all, so.
Yeah, well,
That's the last I
as
heard.
much of the roots as they can get.
Yeah,
So they're
yeah.
refurbishing,
I don't know what they're doing. There's a pretty large project going on around there. I don't know if they're redoing some of the access ramps and whatnot, but they're
Yeah, I
doing
heard-
quite a bit of work around. There's a lot of stakes in that
They
area.
were digging up some huge pieces of sidewalk.
Yeah, yeah, so as part of that, I guess the tree's supposed to be removed, roots and all.
Good, good.
And
I
that-
wonder, when they remove the tree, are they gonna paint with an herbicide? I mean, because that tree is so invasive, if they just dig it up, it's just gonna come right back up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We didn't really talk about that, and I don't know the effectiveness of painting the roots themselves, if that's really something that works or not, but definitely that'll have to be a watch-out situation that we keep an eye on as
Oh,
it
yeah.
goes through, and if anything comes back up. I believe Steven's walking in now, so
Oh, good.
maybe we'll
Good, well,
have
we get a little update.
an update from him.
All right, but as of this afternoon, the Tree of
It is still
Heaven is
standing, yes.
still standing.
And growing.
Yeah, I did.
you know what you say in frustration? Oh, for heaven's sake.
Right, it is growing at a pretty good clip.
All right. Welcome, Senor. We think we're already streaming.
No, they didn't show up. He was here earlier, but I don't know, he left a while ago.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
went ahead and got
Where's the
started.
space?
No, I don't sit up there. Actually,
I
that's
got
actually my seat.
Excuse me, you wanna,
There's a bunch of abdicators around here. All right.
we're just starting on the Tree of Heaven.
Yeah, we just wanted to, we just hit the
Sorry,
agenda.
we had an emergency at the rec center, I apologize. As far as public input, I didn't receive any.
Okay.
I know you already passed it, but
Yeah.
just so that it's on record. I
Yeah.
apologize.
Okay, Tree of Heaven. Well, basically, I was just drove by today, and it's still standing, and I just wondered what the general situation is, the state of affairs. Gerald kind of filled us in a little bit. Okay.
It's gonna be coming out, they're gonna be excavating it up.
Yeah, what is going on around the plaza? It looks like a huge project.
There's a 6-month, 180-day DOT funded,
DOT?
yes, DOT funded street and sidewalk improvement for Bridge Street and Plaza
Does that go all the way to 12th Street, or does it start at the bridge?
I believe it goes all the way to 12th, if I'm correct. I could be wrong, I'm sorry, haven't been in all of those
Street
meetings for that. I thought it was to 12th, but I could be wrong. I would have to ask Benito, he's the project manager for that.
You mean from the plaza to 12th Street?
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
All right. Well, very good. Well, it'd be nice to have that tree, you know, and when they're digging.
I would say the next few days, you should probably see it out.
Yeah, when I don't know if DOT's taking it out or not, but might want to inform them that they got to get as many of the roots as they can, because that stuff comes back up. So.
That's why it's on the noxious weed list.
And I believe that median is going to be completely, it's not even xeriscape, it's going to be all concrete, I believe.
Well,
That'll show
that'll
up.
probably slow that tree down some.
Although,
I know.
they're tenacious.
They are, and tough. All right. Next item's a Riverwalk Park update, and I don't know, Paul, if you have anything you wanted, just bring us up to date on, because you're the main liaison with those people. I've got, I'll talk about what that thing Elizabeth sent us.
The only thing I've got that's tree-related, HPWA, Hermits Peak Watershed Alliance, is starting to work with Craig Spotholtz of, what is it, Riparian Artisans, or whatever it's called. Anyway, to start planting on the west side of the river in the project from last fall. So they're going to be starting to plant trees and willows and stuff along that side, on the west side of the river, to try to replace some of the bosque that was removed by the school project. And I think that's going to be starting fairly soon.
Any idea about the Unity Orchard?
I haven't heard anything. I'm really not involved with that.
Yeah.
The last I heard was they're kind of in their fundraising phase, and that's all I know.
Because at one meeting that I went to, there was a gentleman who was grafting trees and offered to put a bunch of real heirloom stuff in there. And
Yeah.
I just wondered if any of that had happened.
Also, as part of the restoration on that, further down from the Unity Orchard, closer to the river, I've talked with the people from HPWA, Conrad Greaves and Patrick Gutierrez. And part of the original plan was planting other fruits closer to the water, like cockle bean and native plums and stuff like that.
Great.
So that will be part of the plant list that we use along there.
All right. Well, the other thing I have on the Riverwalk, I assume all of you saw it. I just brought a little piece of it. There's the report from Elizabeth Gardner on the hazard trees along the Riverwalk, and her findings. There was one where she said I think she found. Oh, and I'm.
It's right there.
You got a copy
Oh,
of that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, 11, present 13 trees whose conditions present hazards, 11 elms and 2 willows, and one of those was a tree with a 30-foot long dead stem that's starting to break, starting to separate from the trunk. And that is, according to Elizabeth, an imminent hazard. And I don't know if I just report that to you, Stephen, or should I go to the city manager, or?
No, I'm working on that. Is that the same one, Gerald?
No, it's a different tree.
This is a different one.
It's a different tree, and I'm gonna put a little input into this. All the trees that were assessed were on the west side of the river, and I don't know if they all fall in the city right away. So I don't know, either they fall in the city right away, which would be the care of city. If not, they're gonna fall on west, because they would exist on their property. So had they been on the east side of the river, there wouldn't be a question, but I think the ownership is gonna have to be taken into account before anything can be done on it. It doesn't mean that agencies can't work together to accomplish the goal, but the ownership may be on west property, it may not even be on the city. So.
Correct.
I would look into that, Mr. Stephen, just for liability issues and whatnot.
So that's
Wow.
one of the factors, Gerald, thank you, sir, or Mr. Vice Chair, thank you, sir, for bringing that up. Another concern, because I did see that Tree Technologies had provided a quote, but I needed to speak with them because it wasn't very descriptive.
Right, and that was a quote, I believe, that was taken when they were just talking about a couple of trees.
Okay, so that doesn't
Let's stay
match.
away from the quote, because you will have to put this out to bid. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even print that off. That was something Elizabeth put on, and that's
Right.
okay,
Right.
but we're not, I don't think we ought to discuss it.
No, because my understanding of the situation is that the individual was called in to assess the 2 trees that were left behind, but right next to the Unity Orchard. This other stuff was kind of thrown in as a supplement to that. And even Elizabeth at this point doesn't know specifically what trees were inventoried. This report she put together was what she saw while she was there. But like I
Right.
tell you, my feeling is that a lot of these are gonna be outside of the city right away. So
Well-
before anything even were to happen with that, I think the ownership needs to be
Yeah.
figured out.
Well, let me promise you one thing. Somebody gets killed, the city as well as the school, depending.
Right.
Will both be sued.
Right. And we know exactly where that tree's at. We can take you there. We were just there earlier, kind of
Ah.
stomping around, and we had seen that hazard before. But yeah, that was my input, is just the ownership would be something that needs to be looked
Yeah.
at before anything could happen.
So as far as a request for bid, I would need to determine as far as, and we're gonna talk about it, I know it's on the agenda, so I don't wanna jump ahead. I'll wait till that part. But depending on what we get as a rough estimate is where I have to proceed. Because I more than likely will not have the funds in my budget. Just looking at the one that was provided as just a guideline,
Yeah,
I wanna, yeah.
that was
okay.
4K, yeah.
Yeah.
But that wasn't for the 13. It sounds like that was for 2.
Well, it wouldn't have been for 2, it was probably 2 and then some, but the and then some is really unclear at this point. So
Okay.
she would have to come back and do a formal one for you folks and go from there, I guess.
Okay.
In the past, when we've done hazard removal at the parks, we got a grant through Tierra Montes or the Forest Service, spent a lot of money doing it. And also the tree board made sure that while they were doing it, there was always one of us there to answer any questions
And hold the public at bay.
and hold the public at bay.
So,
All right.
Mr. Chair, would you say the direction then to have information to the next meeting is that we determine right away
Okay,
and identify right away for each of those hazards?
all right. And do you want me to pursue that with the city attorney, or?
No, I can. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure that was your direction,
Oh,
sure,
sure.
direction of the committee.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right, and what it's gonna entail is a physical measurement from stream edge to the tree itself.
Oh,
So like
okay.
all the trees need to be identified, that would be part of it, you know. Some are closer than others, there might be 3 or 4 that are within that 50-foot
Yeah,
right away.
yeah.
I don't know what the exact language is, but,
It's 50
It's
feet
50,
from the
right.
riverbank.
Yeah.
Paul, do you know, with respect to the river walk and how the ownership, how the stream is defined in terms of ownership and the banks of it? I just don't know.
Well, I know, I've seen the document, there was a grant or purchase back in 1972 between the city and the Las Vegas Land Grant Commission that gave the city 50 feet on each side of the center of the stream.
Okay.
That belongs to the city.
Okay.
It was my understanding, and I've heard this from several people, that on the west side, the land there belongs to, clear down to that 50-foot line, belongs to West Las Vegas Schools, but there's an agreement that's been in place for a long time that as a part of the park, West will allow the city to use that as part of the park,
Okay.
but the city is responsible for maintaining it.
Yeah, okay,
But I've not seen a document that verifies that.
yeah.
I'll work with Madam Clerk, our city clerk, to see what she can bring up as far as documentation.
Okay,
right, because all of those trees exist on the east side of that fence. they're all in there, so it depends what that document reads.
Okay. Well, the only thing I'd be not really worried about yet, but interested in putting at the top of the priority list is that great big one that.
You do the most hazardous first.
Yes, yes. And there's that one that's 20, 30, was it 30?
Right, and that limb is directly over the walking path on the west side.
It's called the
It's right
target.
near that second pedestrian bridge.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Vice Chair, would either one of you or both of you have time this week to meet with me to do a site visit on that one?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, because that's it sounds like from the committee, that's the highest priority.
Right,
Right.
okay, yeah. Elizabeth, certified arborist and with the hazard, certification, calls it an imminent danger.
Okay, so,
Right. So it's something we need to get after right as soon as possible.
We'll get together with you after the meeting and schedule a time.
okay.
All right. Then the next item is confirmation of the city purchase of street trees. And I had a request into the new city manager, and maybe for the record, I should describe the situation. That last year, we had a commitment from the city to purchase 4 what were called Chanticleer pears for street trees. And then, because of timing, it turned out that the fiscal year ran out and we didn't want to plant till fall. And Dr. Taylor assured me privately that he would make sure that the money was there to complete that purchase, because it was committed already. And I called the present city manager's office and asked for a clarification on that. And that was just last Friday, and I have not heard back yet. So, but I'm quite hopeful that.
So it's on the agenda for next month.
Yeah. We'll put that on as an update on those street trees. And the next item, and Stephen, you're up. You got about 3 things in a row here. Talk about the Douglas Avenue trees in general,
So-
and then we'll get to the stuff about the department.
So on the My Civic 311 app for the city of Las Vegas, there's been several concerns brought by citizens regarding the street trees, touching vehicles that are parked, obstructing sidewalk. So I wanted to
Correct.
bring that here because I think that we're all in agreement that this is not the ideal time for that as far as type of pruning or trimming. But I wanted
Yeah, it's
to-
not ideal, but it's also not horrible. If you're just going to take stuff off that's,
I'm writing, but what I want to say is, I think there's a danger there currently over the sidewalk, and it's called poke your eye out.
mhm.
And if Tom were here, Tom and I would probably go out and trim them up.
Yeah, I don't think we need to do something like. wait
Because
till
there is a
fall.
hazard, and there's possible property damage to cars. It does need to be addressed, even though it's not the proper pruning time.
Okay.
And one of the people who knows what they're doing is
Mhm.
Tom Lambert, who usually,
Right. He's not.
Just
he's a
loves to
member, but
do
Not
it.
here today, yeah.
so maybe I should call Tom and ask him if he'd like to volunteer.
What would be the pleasure of the,
Yeah, well,
the
we've done
community.
we've done this kind of thing before, is to clean up street trees in particular,
And
and in Carnegie Park and things like that. In fact, we've done pruning workshops that have involved those kinds of things.
and I have no problem sending staff with the equipment and for them to be directed.
Sure, but yeah, we can do that. I'll do it if nobody else wants to.
Let me call Tom.
Yeah.
See if
No, he
he's
makes-
interested.
he's qualified.
He may very well be very interested in being with the city staff and showing them why he does what he does.
Yeah, and he's got.
And these are
commercial-
small trees, so they're not,
Yeah.
a big problem.
I really would urge that situation happen because it's an excellent training opportunity for your folks. I'm gonna learn off
You
somebody
bet.
that really does know. So I'm in agreement with that.
So we'll try to do our best to get Tom in touch with you or give you his contact anyway. And, because he's an educator and has given pruning workshops before and trainings. And I'm sure he'd be happy to do it. And if not, any
If
of us
he's
can-
busy, he'll tell us, and then we'll go
we'll
from
figure it
there.
out.
And on those trees, is it, the location, is it all of Douglas up to 8th Street or do you know?
All of Douglas up to 10th,
Up to 10th?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
because there's a few of those that are right in front of the, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry, folks. The building Highlands has, I can't think of the name.
Douglas.
School? Is it the old Douglas School? Is that
Yeah.
it?
Mm.
I don't know why I thought there was a, okay.
Yeah, I
Old
think it's Douglas
School.
Hall.
Yeah, Douglas Hall, there we go.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've been on
I
campus.
reserve the right to be wrong though.
All right. Okay, we want to talk about the park tree inventory, Gerald and Stephen, and then the budget?
So the reason I had asked for that to be on the agenda was, we have, again, more concerns, and myself and the Parks Division are gonna be dedicating one day every couple weeks to focus on core parks, on tree trimming, especially a lot of the hazards. I think it's been evident with some of the rains and the wind that we've had. Right after luckily right after the 4th of July celebration, it occurred after everything was packed up, but we did have quite a bit of hazards come down as far as branches and limbs there at Plaza Park. So as far as core parks, identified core parks, Plaza Park, Carnegie, Lincoln, and veterans. Veterans, there's not, we eliminated a couple that were hazardous, but more for Lincoln, or not Lincoln, excuse me, veterans that I am looking, that we can look into as far as future. I don't know, it seems like those trees, I don't know if it's the lifespan or if the affluent water, they don't seem to be as lively as they've been in the previous years. And I'd like to start looking at a plan for replanting, and instead of they're gone, and
Yeah.
especially the juniper. I think that juniper tree is,
The one that's really buried.
Yes.
Right?
Great.
So,
Look forward.
so
to
in
it.
the
Yeah.
inventory, Gerald, that you have, sir, does it identify each tree at each park, that they're, what's healthy, what's identified as a hazard?
We can, you can actually manipulate that website through the filters. I can probably show you how to do that one of these days.
Okay.
So it'll give you a general condition on a lot of them. But if there's been comments that have been left behind, like a lot of dead wood or needs, like this one that was deemed, an imminent hazard, you can label each tree individually as a critical safety concern, and we've done that to a few. So if those are in the notes, it'll pop up when you run the filter, and it'll show you which trees should require attention. You'll have to verify those on the ground, obviously, because sometimes conditions change in a year or two, but yeah, we have that capability with the software.
And we're able to print it out, sir?
I'm sure we can. I've never printed off it, but I'm sure we can.
now this would be a project to upgrade the park, plant some trees, remove some stuff.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Yes, indeed.
It does, it does.
And like I said, it's gonna get into the next topic, but,
Well, we were talking about the inventory. Nancy sent around, was it 97 tree inventory?
Yeah.
That we might be able to use it to document changing conditions.
Right, and I'll give you an update on the inventory itself as well. Pam and Nancy jumped on a couple of weeks ago to help out and do some street trees along the, I forget what streets they were.
Baca.
Okay. And then we actually have a workshop tomorrow with some of the members of the Master Gardeners Club at Carnegie. So we're gonna train them and they're gonna help us inventory the
Great.
entirety of Carnegie tomorrow. And then we have 2 interns from Hermits Peak Watershed Alliance that are gonna be there tomorrow and are gonna inventory trees along the river park. So we're getting really close to the end of the inventory as far as data collection. So we've had quite a few people step up to assist with that, so.
Pam and I are going to be inventorying in the Riverwalk.
Yeah, yeah.
South of Bridge Street.
Right.
Starting Thursday.
Right. So we have quite a few different inventory
So I'll
activities.
just come by
going
on
on.
Thursday morning, that's cool. Like,
Mhm.
is like 9?
That'll-
Okay.
9 works. So that's what we have on that end. So we're pretty much close to completion after that's done.
And I guess the reason we brought it up, or I wanted to have it on the agenda, was not to be disrespectful to anybody, but I know that the city has been reactive instead of proactive. And there's been where you folks have done a lot of work in getting trees into the parks, but there hasn't been, when they've gotten to a certain age or mature status, another tree that should be removed hasn't been removed, and now it's
Mhm.
affected the growth. And in Carnegie, you'll see it on one of those trees that was supposed to be I know it's not the correct term, folks, you can correct me, the replacement.
Is it ginkgo?
It's gonna have to be now probably taken down, because it's at a
Oh,
45-degree angle,
Mhm.
because
That's
it,
not the one I'm thinking
yeah.
of, yeah.
Is this an elm or what, do you know what kind?
I don't believe it was it wasn't an American elm, it was, I'm not sure of the species, man. It's there on the southeast corner.
Okay.
So it'd be the corner of 5th and National.
Okay,
We'll check it out tomorrow.
yeah,
So I think there are a couple of dead trees also in Carnegie Park. They're
Yeah.
smaller trees, replacement or underplanted trees that have not survived.
The maple finally was one of the ones that succumbed. It had been
Yeah.
suffering for a couple of years, and that's the one that was on the southwest corner. That one didn't make
Have
it.
these trees out of, I told you so kind of thing, have they suffered mechanical damage?
No.
Have you noticed that all the tree protectors have been removed from all the parks?
Some of them have been, but Carnegie's are still in existence, right? AJ, they were there that day. They're still
Oh,
there.
none on the plaza.
Yeah.
okay.
It'd be interesting to look at the trees that are dead and dying, especially the younger ones,
Right.
for mechanical damage. That's the most common cause.
Right, so that's another thing, I guess, that leads into another thing, just real briefly, is the tree board's always attempted to educate the Parks Department on proximity of machinery to the smaller trees and whatnot, not to run the stream trimmer right across or even the mower decks, a lot of times are put real close to the tree to get as close as possible, and they either end up ripping out branches or scuffing the bark off the trees there, so we just want to make sure that in those areas where the tree protectors are taken off, that your folks are really careful not to mark up the trunks of the trees, because then they'll suffer long-term effects from that.
Yeah, I believe that is basically
that
the
can
most
be-
common
Yeah.
cause of losing street and park trees.
And it's not just here, it's everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. That's one of the biggest factors.
Albuquerque instituted a thing with their Parks Division,
Mhm.
which is pretty mean, but they were losing a lot of trees because of the string trimmers mostly. What they did basically, and this is about 12 years ago, is they got the union, I don't know how, to agree to, yes, if we wreck a tree, that guy who wrecked it will replace it. Holy
Yeah, good
smokes.
luck.
I presume it worked real well.
Yeah, I would hope.
But another problem that we set up in this town, I don't know about Albuquerque, is we have grass that grows right up to the trunk. not a good idea, you know, should leave some room
Mhm.
around the tree. Yeah, you could use mulch or something like that instead. But we kind of have it set up so that we're saying, mow the lawn. Somebody mows the lawn and whoops, hit the tree.
Yeah.
Miss Nancy, I think that's a great point. It gets to a point, I think that myself and the Parks Division continues to work with the tree board on finding alternatives that we can work together that fits both of our needs
Mhm.
and the needs of the citizens. And I think that there's plenty of people in here with brilliant minds. Dr. Spencer always likes to joke with me, but about that, but I think that you're correct, ma'am, and I agree. As long as, I think we can get that moving forward.
It would be nice to have an area, you know, here's the tree and it's bare around the bottom of the tree. That would make their job so much easier.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's mulch. You want to talk about the Parks Division stuff now, Stephen, or the proposed budget and the staffing?
So the proposed budget, I just wanted to, and I'm sorry that I left the printouts because it was just in a hurry to come
Yeah.
this way, because I wanted to provide you folks with the printout of the proposed budget that goes to, actually, this Friday, in front of mayor and council. But in the Parks Division, we are operating, as far as park maintenance, with $20,000 a year. That's what we're given. So that equates to, with what we have acreage-wise in the city of Las Vegas, that we cover $20 an acre for a year.
Mhm.
Per year, I should say. So, I'm very enthusiastic, or I just feel we need to continue to work together to find creative ways to expand that. Or if you folks hear about different funding sources, that
Mhm.
I'd be more than happy to jump on it and apply for different grants or different ways that we can find monies to.
Right. Well, I'd ask members of the committee to heed the request of Mr. Aragon, and if we know of any possible sources, to let him know, we can coordinate.
Do you have a wish list that you could share with us?
Yes, ma'am.
What I'm thinking right now is if we know what your wish list is, that's step one of the grant procedure. Depends
Mhm.
what's on the list, where you write the grant for. I see no problem if there are, you know, like things like trees or proper hazard identification and pruning by, quote, professionals.
And I would
That'll be
say-
the easier grant. Now, equipment, there are equipment grants out there. I don't know where they are, but I do know people who do know.
That's Miss Nancy, that's a great point, that you mentioned equipment, because Dr. Taylor was helpful and very appreciative of his efforts in his year of, well, it was more than a year, but I think it was about 19 or 15 months of service. Appreciate, was able to get us some equipment, but in a normal, and this coming fiscal year 2022, our budget for equipment is $0. So that would be,
Nothing better break down, huh?
so I think that, like you had said, a wish list, I think that to pay for professionals to find monies in order to have professionals come in and the proper trimming and tree removal, and then also for replanting in our parks are huge. And if we can get creative and find ways for equipment, because I know there's tree removals that have been for years and the stumps are still there. Just for as an example, that's
Yeah. In Carnegie, there are some that, it would be nice to get the stumps ground.
Right.
When you say zero for equipment, does that include repairs and?
Does not
maintenance?
include repairs, and I believe, because I don't have it right in front of me, I believe the repairs is only 3,000.
But if something breaks down that's 30 years old, some of that stuff
Yeah,
ain't
well,
gonna get repaired.
You know what's a
Probably
good source
the way.
for grants? Grant Gopher.
Okay.
There's a lot of, and it's not just for parks and all that stuff. They've got grants for youth activities, art, music, the whole 9 yards.
Is it GOPHER?
Yeah, Grant Gopher.
And the reason I put this on the agenda, it's not as a negative to, and it's not to put anyone down. I just wanted for the record to show, to educate what
They're working with.
we're working with.
Well, we mentioned the acreage, and what I used to do when we would talk to people about the Parks Department was not talk so much about acreage, but about the number of locations that you have to take care of, and that was pushing 40 a few years ago, I don't know. Do you have any idea what it is now?
We need to update because we've had some added and some taken off. So I'm actually compiling that.
Good.
Good.
So I think that it would probably be appropriate at the next meeting, Miss Nancy, to, if you don't mind having that on the agenda, ma'am.
No.
Great.
Wouldn't it be useful to maybe start talking about, given the resources that the city has, the budget that the city has, that maybe there are just too many acres of parkland to take care of? I mean, $20,000 doesn't go very far. And I don't know, how many acres are there of city parklands that have to be?
1,000 plus. I don't have the exact amount, but it's over 1,000. And I know that I've had discussions with mayor and council, and they're aware, and they're trying, and I don't want to say that they're not, because there has been efforts. There's been a mid-year adjustment where that's bought us certain equipment. I know most recently for Plaza Park where we had, I know Gerald and AJ had gone out there with us to identify 2 trees that needed some major trimming and giving us direction on that. We wouldn't be able to do that without the mayor and council's support of mid-year purchasing a scissor lift that goes up 41 feet. So, you know, there is, and I don't want to say that there's not, but it's gonna, small steps, and those steps are being taken, but I
Yeah.
slowly.
You're going to talk a little bit about staffing too, right? That fits in with what I was talking about with respect to locations. We used to, so I think Taos, and granted, they're not the same as Vegas, but Taos had something like 8 locations and 12 people in the Parks Department. And it sounded, at that time, there were like 4
Yeah,
in the
it was
Parks
pretty good,
Department
Dallas.
and 38 parks. And so it's just not possible for you to do that.
So we're currently budgeted at 7 full-time and 1 part-time.
All right.
The part-time has not been posted yet because that just went in this fiscal year. And we did have a full-time, but that got filled right when the fiscal year started. So we had been working with 6.
All right.
So we're up to 7.
That's more than it used to be.
So, yes, so that's why, I mean, it's not ideal, but we're there. But looking at studies of it, the national average for parks, maintenance workers per acre, there's 1 staff member. The US average is 1 staff member for every 10 acres. The New Mexico average is 1 for every 40. For our city, Las Vegas, it's 1 for every 166. So
you need about 4 times as many people to become average.
So, and I think that the previous city manager, Dr. Taylor, I talked about it, and we're initial, Mr. Maestas, we've been discussing it about the average and looking, and I know the council is aware and looking at, like you were saying, Paul, about weighing that acreage and is it too much that we have to cover?
Yeah.
And
we
Seems
know
like
the
it could
answer
be a
is
real-
yes.
It could be a real political hot potato. I realize that the council, et cetera, nobody wants to give up a park in their district or whatever, but, just overall, it seems like just an
Well-
inordinate number of acres.
Yeah, well, parks are definitely related to quality of life issues.
Right.
Even if I don't belong to Ward 1, I sure would never give up a park.
And I would say that it's not just park, there's a lot of, and I think it's something that just to continue to have further discussions with department heads and with Mr. Maestas, the new city manager, on what has been assigned to the park division.
Right.
For example, like City Hall is, since we're here right now, we have everything from the fence and gate forward
Mm-hmm.
that we maintain. So
And
there's-
around the courthouse, I think, also, I mean, I don't know if that's county, but that used to be, I thought, at the time, I think it was called public facilities as well as parks.
Parks Division, for a long time, was under the Public Works Division.
Yeah, yeah.
And you'll see in a lot of municipalities that Parks and Recreation is the department. Parks isn't
Yeah.
under Public Works. And I know that that's
But
why
so-
I'm here, they combined it
Uh-huh.
when the new administration, so back to being Parks and Rec. So I think it's just a matter of, now that because it's been 10-plus years, because we were doing job descriptions for staffing, and job descriptions hadn't been updated since 2010, so I would say it's been at least 11 years since it's been Parks and Rec together. I believe it's more, but I don't know the exact amount.
So it's responsibilities of another department to take care of the grounds around public buildings.
Yes,
Yeah,
but-
not your job.
But at the same time, I think that everybody is
Yes.
stretched and,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no.
and have a lot on their plate. So I want to make sure that I do mention that, and it's not,
You bet.
not picking on a certain department, that I think
Oh, yeah.
everybody is trying to catch up with.
Well, you do what you got to do, and you
Yes.
do it the best you can. Yeah, so
Right.
we understand that.
But I think that those are ongoing discussions to kind of answer, or, not that Paul had a question, but kind of the statement that you had, Paul.
Well, it's good for us to know your budget and all that other stuff, the personnel stuff, because it,
Yeah.
like John says, we encounter a lot of people, and if I hear anybody bad mouthing the department, I'll step in and say something, because they just don't realize the reality that you guys live every day.
And it's important, and to me, it's about being transparent,
Right.
educate what resources we do have, what our limitations are, so that folks can understand. Because if they don't know the information, if they see certain weeds at a certain park, or this bench is broken, I, as a citizen, would expect for it to get fixed or corrected, correct? So I think it's just a matter of working together on it. And it is important for, parks, like Nancy said, because it is the investment of quality of life.
You bet. Yeah, we can give you chapter and verse about
That's about that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for your presentation, Stephen. I see no other items on our agenda, and we're 5 minutes from, yeah, go ahead, Paul.
This is something I think maybe we could discuss next
Yeah.
time, but I was at Buena Vida Physical Therapy the other day, and I was there 4 years ago and was sitting there on one of the machines looking out at Lion
Oh,
Park
yeah.
and seeing the hazards there, and a lot of those hazards are still there.
Okay.
I was talking to the owner, Stella Burciaga, and she said, yeah, we watched, I don't know when this was, but I think it wasn't, she said, we saw a tree just sort of crash down into the street, and so she said,
Wow.
yeah, we see that every day, and we're really concerned about the hazards for the public in that park. So I think that's something
Yeah,
we ought to.
okay, let's,
Yeah, I remember talking about Lion Park 5 years ago or so. One of the biggest problems was they're extremely tall elms.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
getting up.
this takes money. There was no money. I think a billion years ago, we cut down one limb or one tree. And that was about all we could get done. But yeah, I think maybe some money needs to be spent on getting somebody who are trained to become a climber or a parachutist.
Yeah, I think
And,
it was 4 years
take
ago
care of
that I
that.
was
Yeah.
dealing with the problem with my knee. And after that was introduced to our conversation, I know Elizabeth went there, and I think some other people from the tree board, and did an evaluation of
Yeah.
those trees.
Correct.
I think we got that report someplace.
There were a
We
number
sure
of
did.
hazards, but it was also mentioned in the report that they were really tall trees, and the city didn't have any equipment that could possibly reach those branches that were presenting a hazard for the most
Yeah.
part. So,
And then we all forgot about it.
yeah.
I think we did take down one tree, though.
But there were a couple, I think after that report, there were a couple of trees that were supposed to be taken out. They were
Okay,
just-
I'll send you a copy if I can find it.
What I can do too for next meeting, if you'd like, is I'll try to find out if we can print a report off the inventory that we have of the number of hazard or trees that are in generally poor condition that need work. And I think I had monkeyed with a filter recently, and it was in the hundreds.
Mhm.
It wasn't just a couple here or there, but if we can pull enough data off of that to kind of give the city a head start as to where these more potentially dangerous trees are, I think that's kind of the purpose. of
But you're
having that
talking about
inventory.
street trees, right?
Street and park trees, yes. They're all,
There's a big problem with street trees.
yeah.
Who gets sued? Both the homeowner and the city. Who owns that land? Technically, my understanding is the city has a right of way, but the owner owns it.
And with the,
And nobody can afford.
right, the city tree ordinance requires maintenance on street trees to be performed by the homeowners. And that is a difficult situation because they,
And the city couldn't afford it.
well, right, oh, no, understood. And also
Yeah.
you tell people to take care of a tree and then tell them they can't water it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But,
The other thing I'd like to see on next month's agenda, there's still a lot of trees being topped in this town.
oh, yeah.
And I think it's our obligation as a tree board and also the city we need to put together some kind of educational component or something to put a break on it, because we're losing trees left and right, and we all know topping is not a viable answer for pruning trees, but there's some contractors here in town that are continuing that practice on street-owned trees, and I think we need to find a way to get to them and let them know that that's not okay to do.
If they haven't changed the law, it's against the law.
It is,
But
it is.
unenforced.
Right, right. And I don't know that, like a stiff, heavy penalty for it up front is the answer. I think we need to find a way to educate these people and let them know that they need to stop providing that option.
Is there any kind of list of contractors of the
So what I was
tree
thinking
fellows?
is
Because
community
we can
develop-
send them material at least.
Community development would have anybody that has a business license. Now, that doesn't mean that covers everyone,
No.
but it's a start, and it's something that can be visited. And I think that we could probably work together, and this would be a great presentation piece to the mayor and council, just to bring awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just passed by a couple on the west side of town that got hacked pretty bad.
Are all of these recent?
Oh, one of them's in progress right now.
Okay.
Um,
Call the cops.
I don't want to do that. I really don't, because there's been so many contractors that have done that
Yeah.
over the years, and nobody's really, I don't want them to learn that way, I guess. I'd rather put something together where we can educate people and just tell them, you know what, you need to stop doing this. It is against city ordinance, this is your one warning. We'll let you slide on this, but you need to find a
Like a
different
fair
way.
heads up.
Right,
Yeah.
right, give them a fair heads up, and if they continue, then I guess you look at possibility of ramifications, but it's happened everywhere, and it's just been such an accepted practice across the city. It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Well, it's creating so many trees that are more hazardous
Right.
as those
Yeah.
Then the
those
original.
shoots come out. Plus, a lot of people, more recently, like I can think of on 8th Street and 7th Street, and some of those streets that were in the past, I can think back 20, 30 years ago, that were just beautiful tree-lined
Mhm.
streets. And some of the tree trimmers are just cutting them off at about 12 feet above the ground and leaving nothing, just leaving a
Right.
trunk standing there. I mean, it's not only creating a dangerous situation, it's just really unsightly.
Right, and some of the trees that we just saw being topped were already trees that were topped in the past.
Yeah.
So they're topping the top material, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
a series of toppings, and it saddens me, I guess, that it's still continuing.
It
So I
is
think
sad.
we need to investigate that and figure out how we can prevent that from happening moving forward.
So no, that would be a good topic.
Yeah, it'd be pretty easy if, when you talk about the people who are licensed, for us to put together a package that explains the tree ordinance and the reasons why topping is about the worst thing you can do to
A
it.
lot of them aren't licensed.
I know, well, but, you know, we ought to
I'd
do what
probably
we can
use-
do. Yeah.
I'd probably use some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else that you want to come before the committee? If not, we are adjourned until next month. Thank you for participating. We all go take our jobs with us.
Stephen, I brought this, the acceptance thing for the.
Yeah, I've been telling people erroneous